South African small businesses are facing a new challenge as the US introduces 30% tariffs on selected goods. Manufacturing and agricultural exports make up a large share of online products, which puts many e-commerce SMEs in a vulnerable position. Joining us today to unpack this is Frederick Mitchell, Chief Economist at Luma Capital, who'll be unpacking what these tariffs means for e-commerce SMEs. Frederick, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
I'd like us to start off with how does the 30% US tariffs specifically impact South African small businesses within the e-commerce sector?
Well, it's going to be difficult to say at this stage because e-commerce is not like a physical export of products and services, and it's going to be quite interesting. I guess it's going to have something to do with reduced competitiveness, maybe because we can see some price increases and also reducing some market share that we might experience in the US. But only time will tell how it's going to affect the tech sector for that sake.
Frederick, given that manufacturing and agricultural exports to the US account for 40% of trade, what specific challenges do SMEs in specialty product e-commerce face in maintaining competitiveness under these tariffs?
That's quite a difficult question to answer just off the bat, because I guess everyone is just waiting to see how that's going to pan out just for, let's say, the manufacturing and agriculture sector as it stands. And then you get to a really niche market where you get electronic services or e-commerce services. And how that's going to play out remains to be seen. We know that they will have to find, let's say, alternative channels of getting the goods to the US market, maybe routed through a different, say, service provider, or maybe just have a mock-up office or something else in a different country with a jurisdiction with a lower tariff rate. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, let's say, in the next 6 months or so.
But is it possible for e-commerce SMEs to use digital supply chains or solutions like the US fulfillment centers, AI-driven inventory management systems, and drop shipping in order to mitigate this challenge?
I would say definitely it's going to play a role. We know that if you look at this, let's say the drop shipping and e-commerce sites, it's going to be there's going to be some movement to reduce these costs to try and get the effect of the 30% tariffs less of an effect on the South African goods, and so that we can remain competitive and maybe our companies can still make a profit.
With the tariffs leading to job loss in key sectors like your manufacturing and agriculture, how might SMEs, e-commerce businesses adapt in staffing and models in order to maintain continuity in their businesses?
I would say you'll have to look at, say, let's start off with the basics. Let's look at diversifying the market. I know the President has spoken about us trading more with African countries. Let's say diversifying the market, and then look at how you can mitigate staff requirements or the reduction in staff requirements in a very niche sector like e-commerce and products to the US. Like I say, it's going to be very difficult for them to implement it straight off the bat, the 30%, because it's not like a physical product that you export to the US, because lots of these, let's say, products are drop shipping and of e-nature. So how do you tariff that going into the US? So it's going to be quite, let's say, interesting to see how the regulatory bodies in the US is going to enforce this.
Looking at diversifying the market, how can we maybe drill into those, and what is really happening in that space currently?
For me, like I say, this is now a game where we'll have to wait and see. This is now to see how companies actually respond to these threats being leveled against them with the 30% tariffs coming into effect. At this stage, there's no data available. We'll have to wait and see what the data of our official sources like Stats SA and Reserve Bank tell us in due course, let's say the first quarter of next year and second quarter, so we can get some data on the table to analyze what these effects will be on, let's say, staffing requirements, competitiveness, and opportunities in the US market.
Frederick, just lastly, what lessons should South African SMEs look into when learning about what it means actually to rely on single markets, because that's the problem that we're having right now?
For us, the single market is really a big concern, specifically to the US, because they are big, let's say, a taker of our goods that we do. If you look at the Asian market, they distribute and produce themselves. So, and that's kind of a problem. You can't really export to that market. Europeans have always been a great market to us. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how we can leverage the African trade for going forward, and also looking at how we can penetrate, let's say, the Asian market that we have to now because of these tariffs that's going to play an effect on the South African e-commerce sector.
Frederick, what role could SA trade policy tools play in cushioning SMEs against these operational tariffs?
We'll have to look at the policies the government are looking at to, let's say, cushion the blow for South African traders internationally, not only for traders, but let's say manufacturing. We'll have to wait and see, can they negotiate something that soften the blow for our companies on the international market, specifically related to the US, and can we get a deal across the line that might save us some unemployment issues in future going forward.
Frederick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for being here.
That was Frederick Mitchell, Chief Economist at Illum Capital. Until next time, goodbye.